Well, King Charles's brother, Prince Edward, was supposed to be joining King Charles for a major event, but he was forced to pull out at the last minute. This comes just days after Andrew Mounbatten-Windsor's arrest. So Prince Edward was expected to join his family at an award ceremony at St James's Palace in London, but was unexpectedly absent after being struck down with a health issue. But Esther, what are your thoughts around this? Because royal experts say that this really would have been comforting, particularly for King Charles, to have more of his family around him during this hugely challenging time.
Yes, and I think what this laid bare is how thin there are in terms of working royals on the ground. There are very few of them. This goes to show again how much of a blow Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family were, because it wasn't just a PR crisis. It was who's actually going to do the work that we need to. We know that Prince Edward's wife has been in Somalia with her charity causes there, drawing attention to the rights of women and girls, and particularly women and girls who have faced sexual violence. So she's busy all over the world, and they've been doing tours to Canada and all over the world. So really, it's not surprising that with an alleged cold, something as simple as a cold, he had to be taken out. I think it's probably more to do with the exhaustion and just the fact that the few members of the royal family that are working are kind of pushed to the limit. We know that Princess Anne is the hardest working royal, and she engages in the most engagements of all of royals. But this is someone who does quite a glamorous job. She goes to a chip factory in the Midlands. She opens schools on a rainy day in Wales. It's not the kind of glamorous work that most people associate with the royal family, but that is the overwhelming majority of what they do. And unfortunately, coupled with the former Prince Andrew's arrest this week, a lot of attention has been diverted from their usual duties to this disgraced former prince who has no judgment and was just basically fulfilling his role in public duties in a way to just line his own pockets, really.
Let's talk about the disgraced former prince, Andrew Mounbatten-Windsor. He's now reportedly been banned from horse riding following his arrest. Royal aides fear that the former Duke of York being photographed on horseback would be a bad look while he remains under police investigation. Look, I tend to agree with that. But prior to his arrest, it was common to see Andrew riding around Windsor Estate, but not anymore, Esther.
Yes, the former prince is basically in royal prison. I mean, the last step is really to lock him up in the Tower of London. And, to put it bluntly, the public sees the Yorkses, so the former Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, as a pair of sucking leeches that were in any sort of capacity of royal family roles just to basically make money for themselves. And it's not a surprise that Prince Philip, after the former Prince Andrew's divorce from Sarah Ferguson, described her as odd and pointless and banned her from being seen with the royal family on public engagements. And the royal family has basically decided to say to Prince Andrew, well, the former Prince Andrew, without all but banishing him to the Middle East, that you have put this family in such disrepute that you will take everything that we're giving you. You are lucky we're providing you a home. You will collaborate and cooperate and with the police, so much so that you have police basically storm the king's private property in Norfolk to arrest the former Prince Andrew, which he obviously would have known about. You don't just go onto the king's private property without his knowledge. And the last thing that the royal family wants is pictures of the former Prince Andrew looking pleased with himself and happy and riding horses and living La Vida Loca, when there are real questions about not just his association with Jeffrey Epstein, but how far this really goes. Because we know that Andrew Mounbatten-Windsor has lied to the public before in his disastrous Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis, and so no one can take his word for it. So it is now the royal family's duty to manage this as far as possible, to be completely transparent, not just with the authorities, but with the public, and try and sort of cauterize this wound that is the Yorkses.
And they absolutely must. I mean, if they want to win back any kind of support or move forward as a modern monarchy, they absolutely need to be transparent and handle this the right way. The Speaker of the UK's House of Commons has revealed that he told police he believed that Peter Mandelson was a possible flight risk ahead of his arrest. So we know that, of course, Peter Mandelson was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office, and he's facing accusations himself of leaking information to Jeffrey Epstein. He was released on bail on Tuesday morning after more than 9 hours of questioning. Esther, can you bring us up to speed? What are the details here?
Yeah, so it was quite surprising that the former Prince Andrew was arrested, but Peter Mandelson wasn't, because from the details of the email exchanges that were released to the public between him and Jeffrey Epstein, particularly during his time as Deputy Prime Minister and during the peak of the 2008 financial crisis, where the British government in particular was bending over backwards to try and reassure the public amidst sort of financial crisis and mass unemployment in the country, you had Peter Mandelson, from what it looks like from these emails, allegedly passing on sensitive markets information to Jeffrey Epstein and his acolytes, which is such a huge breach of office and judgment. So it was actually expected that he would be arrested before Prince Andrew, because that's far worse, well, from what we can see, than anything that the former Prince Andrew has seen to have been done with or engaged in with Jeffrey Epstein. But they've now just got round to it, because he actually agreed to give the police an interview next month. But according to the Speaker of the House of Commons, he felt like after an overheard conversation of some kind, or through sort of more private information sources, that he thought Peter Mandelson was a flight risk and that he was going to leave the country. And so he tipped off the police, who then seized Peter Mandelson's passport to make sure that he can't actually leave the country pending investigation. So this whole thing is quite tawdry. I find it quite incredible that Peter Mandelson's only defense is that he doesn't recall anything of this kind. He doesn't recall any sort of inappropriate communications, even though there are actual emails. It's quite incredible, from a lot of these revealed documents, his own husband was on Peter Mandelson's payroll and receiving a stipend of $4,000 a month. I find it incredible that Peter Mandelson doesn't remember any of that. But again, this is a live investigation and the authorities do their job. It's just, to the public, it just looks very, very unsavory.
Let's talk about Keir Starmer. So Keir Starmer is facing pressure to halt funding for French Channel patrols after new data revealed that around two-thirds of small boat migrants successfully reach Britain. So just to repeat that, two-thirds of small boat migrants successfully reach Britain. Wow. The Prime Minister is expected to approve fresh payments to France when the current agreement expires, but Conservative and Reform UK figures are demanding that no further payments be handed over without evidence of tougher action from France. And again, Esther, just to look at how many people have crossed the Channel in small boats, last year it was more than 41,000. That's an increase of 13%.
Yes, I mean, so far the UK has handed the French authorities over 700 million pounds, which we are still wondering what has been done with that, because again, their success rate is so low. There have been allegations that French police have actually been busing these migrants to sort of the points on the beaches where they're actually getting onto these dinghies to cross the channel. And I think what I find quite spectacular is how naive this government is in not assuming or not even deducing the inherently political role that this whole crisis has taken on. The French don't want a lot of these migrants, and they're happy to wring their hands of them and send them to Britain as Britain's problem. This whole issue of migrant crossings didn't just start in the Channel. It started in the Mediterranean, and many Mediterranean or European countries bordering the Mediterranean have had to deal with this. Italy, for example, has had to deal with a lot of influx of migrants. Spain, France, many of them are considering, offshoring migrants to third world processing countries. So it's a significant problem for France as well, and it's really had a huge impact on their own domestic policy situation. You've seen the rise of the Front National in France, mainly because of this not only unprecedented wave of legal immigration, but also illegal immigration. The only saving grace, I think, for the French is it's more difficult for illegal migrants to work in France because it's a more document-heavy country. In the UK, there's no such thing. We don't have national ID cards, for example, even though they've been tried to implement it twice, first under Blair and more recently under Keir Starmer, even though that failed and it was another of the government's incessant U-turns. So the French are quite happy to wash their hands of this. And I think for Keir Starmer to not notice that and for his government to look poised to approve more payments without demanding even more rigorous policing is quite incredible, and just shows his lack of judgment on this matter as well as many other matters across the country.
Just finally, the Gorton and Denton by-election is shaping up to be potentially a turning point in Starmer's tenure. Of course, the Gorton and Denton areas have been a Labor stronghold for decades, yet it's a three-way race. What can you tell us about this? What are you expecting?
Well, the mathematical formula is quite an interesting one. This particular constituency, you have on the one hand sort of urban urban settlers alongside a very large, significant ethnic minority, mainly made up of Muslim voters. And then on the other hand, you have sort of white working class individuals that reform is targeting quite heavily, arguing that they've been left behind by the government, and by successive government. So that is the interesting split. What reform is banking on is that the Green Party will actually split the Labour vote, which will allow reform to romp to victory. But this by-election has descended into something uglier that people weren't expecting. You're seeing this unholy alliance between traditional, like blue-haired Green supporters and actually traditionalist Muslim voters that are basically voting on sectarian lines, voting on a pro-Gaza platform. Would you believe that the Green Party has been releasing ads in Urdu and Bengali in order to woo these voters? And what does it say about the state of Britain when a national party is campaigning, not just on such tribal and sectarian lines, but is literally putting out campaign adverts in foreign languages to secure the vote? I mean, Britain is becoming like an airport lounge where you have people from all sorts of different walks of life just sharing a geographical location. And unfortunately, this by-election says something much deeper about the state of Britain, not just the fact that the country is overwhelmingly unimpressed with the Labour Party at the moment.
You're spot on. Writer and broadcaster Esther Kraku, thank you so much.
Thank you.